being a friend, being a partner, and being an assistant at the same point of time. I think that's how I would like
Yeah.
to define what we want to do with Moto AI. And we are basically empowering the users to enable their creative expression. They can do all the creative aspects of the work through these applications on the phone.
It's not like, if you're from the 80s, it's not the giant robot,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
going to come and fix your life for you.
If you have to book a cab, why do you have to open, say, an Uber? You
Yeah.
should not need to, ideally. I think with the way things are progressing, I think you will continue to see democratization of AI over the period of time.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Our Own Devices. We're going to talk about a brand I guess all of us are really familiar with, really love, and have maybe most probably used once or twice in your lifetime for sure, right? So it is that kind of a brand, and if you guessed it, yes, it is Motorola. But we're going to talk a lot about AI, and this is something that we have all want to happen because we are hearing about AI, but we are really seeing it come into your devices in a big way. Early days, we are now seeing AI actually start trickle into the devices. But what's going to happen there? What to expect, what not to expect. So we have Shivam Ranjan, who's head of marketing at Motorola Mobility Asia Pacific, with us to talk about it. So Shivam, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nandagopal. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. Glad to be here and glad to be talking to you today.
Shivam, before we talk about Motorola specifically, I'd like to ask you, is AI really this sort of force multiplier on a smartphone? Because, see, if you look at it, before this AI craze driven by ChatGPT and Gen AI started, even before that, smartphone companies have been putting AI on their box, right? So it's not really a new thing from a smartphone perspective, but here you have a little bit of a superpower coming onto the device that you're going to use the most. So how do you look at this now?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. See, I think you're absolutely right when you say that AI has been in existence for a while now, and especially on the smartphones, there have been different applications of the AI. And even at Motorola, we've been putting AI for enhancing the camera experiences, for enhancing the processors or the battery experience and everything, right, for quite some time. But I think the disruption or the change that we are seeing now is the introduction of Gen AI and the introduction of AI at a whole new level, right? Where it is basically able to contribute much more than it used to. So, just to give you an example, I think if you look at, you spoke about some of these chat applications and engines like ChatGPT, etc. Of course, these are applications that can work across devices, right? I mean, you can use them across devices. So what's the purpose and what's the leverage of the phone? I think the importance of the phone is that the phone is a device that is the most personal, that is the most integral to a consumer's experience during the
Yeah.
day. And hence, it has information about your context, where you are, what you're doing. It has information about your personal choices in terms of what you prefer, at what time do you prefer to do what, and stuff like that. Now, those are things
Yeah.
that reside on your smartphone or the smartphone has the capability to access. And hence, using that to simplify lives, to enhance capabilities, to bring meaningful experiences for the consumer is what I think the potential of AI on a smartphone is. And of course, that is where you are seeing the disruption and that is where we are moving towards. And even at Motorola, our endeavor is to move in that direction in order to enhance the consumer's life. We don't want to build another AI app or the likes of which exists
Hmm.
already in the market. But our philosophy, in fact, that brings me to also our philosophy on AI. Our philosophy is to create a holistic experience for the consumer across their device experience, right? So whatever they do on the device, across that we want to bring in AI, which is seamless. Now, how do we do that? We do that with our
Yeah.
three pillars, right? In terms of what the AI experiences should stand for, or guiding principles as we call it. The first one is capture. the second is create, and the third is assist. Now, just to elaborate a little bit further, when I say capture, now capture is about empowering the consumers to basically record or capture the experiences or the memories in a unique way, right? So it can include AI experiences that enhance photography, enhance videos. For example, we've got autofocus tracking, we've got AI adaptation, stabilization, photo enhancement, etc., which is all being done by AI to make sure that even if you're not a professional, you're able to get professional quality pictures and videos. Another way that you can
Yeah.
do, what you could do is also capture memories and document things, through AI, which is being brought alive by some of our features like remember this, which is just a call to our AI to remember something, which could be a screenshot or a picture, etc. The second, for example, is create, right? And create is where the Gen AI comes into the picture. So we've got experiences like Magic Canvas, Style Sync, where we are doing text to image generation, and we are basically empowering the users to enable their creative expression. They can do all the creative aspects of the work through these applications on the phone. And the third one is, of course, with respect to assist, to ensure that we make their lives, daily tasks, to be seamless, right? You do so many things on the
Hmm.
phone, and how do you
Yeah.
make that seamless? And for example, we've got something like Catch Me Up, which is an AI feature that we have on our phones now, where you don't need to go through the plethora of notifications that are being thrown at you. You just say Catch Me Up, and you get a prioritized notification list. So
Yeah.
that's where I believe that
Okay.
that the smartphone AI is going. And I strongly believe that it's a change that will create significant impact, and that's how we are crafting our AI strategy as well.
If I look at if I look at Motorola as a brand, it's always, I have always thought of it as the closest you get to a pure Android kind of an experience, right? Which also means that you are always working in tandem with Google. It's really like a hand in glove kind of a partnership that you have with Google. And now, since Google is also a very big player in this entire AI space, so is Moto AI? So how much of Moto AI is things that you would do yourself? And how much of it is things that you can actually get out of Google because Gemini is so good at so many things.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I think a fantastic question as well. See, um, you're absolutely right. We've got a very strong partnership with Google from the perspective of Android.
Yeah.
We've always been very close to the Android ecosystem partnership, etc. And we've been leveraging the Android features wherever we can. And that's where Gemini comes into the picture, right? So if
Yeah.
the Android partner has a great AI application, which is able to do things which are currently in terms of the chat-based or interaction-based application that you have on multiple devices. That's where Gemini is one of the leading applications. So we don't want to lose out on that opportunity, and we definitely want to have it on our phones across the board as much as possible. However, I wanted to say that that is where, and I think that the question you asked is, are we sort of doing the same things as Gemini, for
Mhm.
example?
Yeah.
No, I think that's where the philosophy comes into the picture. Our philosophy with Moto AI is to give the consumers experiences which are throughout their smartphone experience and not just for specific tasks. So the
Okay.
Moto AI is not an application.
Okay.
It is not an application. The endeavor with Moto AI is that across the consumer touch point of experiences on the device, whether it is for capturing pictures or photos, whether it is for creating or generating images, or it is for assisting themselves during their daily tasks, everywhere this comes into the picture. And even, for example, even for simple tasks like searching for things on the device, outside the device, etc.,
Hmm.
etc., making things intuitive is what our endeavor is. In fact, let me tell you what our philosophy is behind these three things. So while these three are guiding principles, I think the way we are developing our AI features is based on four cohorts, right? Or four key things that we want our AI to enable, right? And I spoke about this briefly when I was talking about it earlier, in general, but specifically for Moto, we have these four principles on what the AI should be and how we are designing AI, and which is why you will see that in our features. The first one is being contextual, right? Now, that is the power that we have because we have contextual information on where the user is, what are the surroundings, etc., and be able to not wait for an input, but suggest. Come
Yeah.
back and prompt the user, hey, you're here in this location. Would you like to have a cup of coffee, for example, right? I mean,
Hmm.
suggest that action, for example. The second is, having the personal information. At this time, the person gets up, this time he goes to office, this time they eat their meals. So with respect to the time, with respect to consumer behavior and habits, the AI evolves. It's not the same when you open up the phone. The first time you're using the phone, the AI is still learning for you. But 6 months down the line, it'll be able to understand your personal habits and be able to suggest things which a Gemini or a chat-based assistant is not able to do today, right? The third thing is being collaborative, which is where understanding natural language and be able to not wait for a prompt, like I said, right? I mean, to be able to collaborate, be suggestive, be proactive comes into the picture. And last but not the least, be ubiquitous. Now, what do I
Hmm.
mean by that? I mean, one of the biggest challenges with the consumers on the smartphone today is the information overload, right? I mean, you get tons of notifications, you get 10 tons of messages across apps, etc. So how do we make sure that the person does not need to integrate through individual apps and navigate through them? How do we ensure that there is an overlay, there's a layer that allows you to do things in natural language and ubiquitously? If you have to book a cab, why do you have to open, say, an Uber? You
Yeah.
should not need to, ideally, right? You should
Yeah.
have one single layer of your AI if it becomes so ubiquitous that you don't need to navigate through applications and you don't need to do that. So these are the four guiding principles that we also have in
Hmm.
terms of designing the create,
Yeah.
capture, and assist features that we do. And the features are a representation of how we are approaching it. And also, we believe that for things which are already available or tasks that can already be done with our partner applications like Gemini, the overlay is also able to drive the conversation to that application. So, for
Hmm.
example, when I talk about being ubiquitous, it's not just Uber, it is also Gemini. So if
Yeah.
if the AI feels that this is a task that is best addressed by Gemini,
Hmm.
it will
Hmm.
activate Gemini and get the response from there. So in that
Yeah.
sense, we are very open. We are collaborative in terms of our AI strategy, but we are developing an overlay. So our AI, in fact, if you look at the interface also that appears, it's a floating prompt that
Hmm.
appears on your
Yeah.
devices today, and it is open to input in natural language or text, etc., and is able to navigate through different applications and different partnerships, and is able to deliver experiences that are native, for example camera features, for example gen AI features native to the device, or assist features which are native or personal or contextual to you on its own, but is also able to enable or activate other applications or AI partner applications as and when required for specific tasks.
So, no, I completely understand what you're saying because I think the initial problem with adoption was that you're expecting people to go somewhere to
Yeah,
access AI, right?
yeah.
And the and people who have brought in AI after that, like with a lot of the meta products, for instance, and even on Google, like if you're using Docs, if you're using Mail, AI is there as it's waiting. It is
For your
waiting there to
input.
yeah to assist you in some way. So and I think that's what's going to drive the adoption, because otherwise people will forget that you have this great assistant out there which can help you with everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the important point there, Nandagopal, is that while it's discoverable, I think what you're trying to
Yeah.
address is discoverability. It should be always
Yeah.
there. It
Yes.
should be always
Yes.
discoverable. It should be very easy to activate, not go to a certain
Yeah. Yeah.
environment and then experience it, which is definitely something that we've addressed. So if you double
Yeah.
tap on our devices, just double tap and the AI comes up, and
Hmm.
it's always there. It's
Yeah.
a floating icon which is there, which is easily
Yes. Yeah.
activatable. It can be
Yeah.
brought there. But the other thing is also that it is not always waiting. So, for example,
Hmm.
at times,
Hmm.
and this is something that we are going to look at.
It's proactive. It's proactive
Yeah,
in a
so
way, right?
some of the features that you will see in the future, while we can't talk about the exact features, but
Hmm.
like I said, because our guiding principle itself is that it should be contextual, and so depending on what you're seeing, for example, if you're looking at a web page, or if you're looking at a chat application, or if you're looking at a invite in your calendar, or a meet or an email that says you have a meeting, it could prompt you to say book your calendar or block your calendar.
Yeah.
It could prompt you to say that do this action based on based on whatever you are consuming, right? So it need not be always passive. It should be proactive, and it should also propose, because the advantage of the on-phone AI, and which is what we believe is the strongest point and how it differentiates from the others, is the fact that it is able to have your information, which is stored locally. And by the way, I think this is another point which becomes a reason for discomfort for some of the people, is privacy and security. So at Motorola, our philosophy is all the personal and the contextual information is stored on the device, but we use that to build on suggestions and features that we can provide. Yeah.
Now, see, AI has become this buzzword, right? Especially this week with DeepSeek and all of that. There is
Yeah.
so much conversation happening around AI. But and this hype, so to say, is that sort of, is that going to, lead to a little bit of a disappointment on the customer, the consumer side, because they're hearing so much, and it is, it is good, but it's maybe not what you're expecting it to be, right? It's not the one thing that's going to solve all your problems. It's not like, if you're from the 80s, it's not the giant robot,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
going to come and fix your life for you. So
Yeah.
is there, and with the initial rollout of AI coming onto devices, are you getting that kind of feedback that people are expecting maybe something else out there, and this is, maybe it's taking time to get there?
Yeah. No, I think this is a fantastic question. If you ask me, frankly, I think this is the biggest revolution after the internet revolution. I think
Yes.
this will have
Yeah.
that kind of an impact that the
Mm-hmm.
internet revolution created in the society. So it is that big and that prominent. But yes, from a consumer perspective, when they're experiencing AI, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're already exposed to so many things, right? And at the end of the day, I think sometimes they are only responding to some innovations which are possibly just Gen AI innovations, right? Which create that wow, oh, you can do that, right? So, for example, when they see text to image or text to video, that seems to wow them more than, say, some of the assist features, which might be far more useful than what
Yeah.
they realize. But it's just this, it's just the it's just the shock value or the disruption value of Gen AI that is sort
Mm-hmm.
of currently leading the consumer anticipation or the expectation. And hence, when they look at the consolidated set of features, whether they are imaging features on the camera or on the video, or whether it is the assist features, etc., may not be creating that kind of wow. But I think that's also because the technology is very new, it's very
Yeah.
nascent. And whenever a technology is new and nascent, people look for the most magical experience, right? They just look
Yeah.
for magic that can create that wow. But as consumer behavior evolves, and as they start expecting some of the things, they will start looking for more meaningful experiences, and that is how the consumer behavior is set to evolve, right? I mean, every time. So even if you look at foldables, for example, we were one of the first ones to
Yeah.
bring a foldable to the market. The Razor was the
Yeah.
first flip phone in the world globally in 2019. But the initial reaction is of course wow, a display that can
Yeah.
fold. But
Mm.
then once the technology evolves, once consumers start increasing using the product, they start expecting more, right? I mean, what is it, what are the usable features, how does it improve my imaging experience, how does it improve my lifestyle experience, what does it add value to me in right? So it's not just about disruption at that point of time. So I think AI, you're very right. Consumers might feel a little underwhelmed at times by some of the AI features because there are so many AI features. But
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to also, as OEMs, understand what the consumer really needs and how does it add value to the consumer's life. And it has to be a mix of experiences that add value and make the consumer's life smooth, but also experiences that can create that wow, right? Which is why I think if you see our philosophy, where possibly if you look at assist and capture, right? Those are experiences that seamlessly make the experiences better. But the create, which is the generative AI experience, is
Yeah.
possibly what is driving the maximum wow right now. So it has to be a
Yeah.
combination of both. And then as consumers evolve, I think they will continue to realize more and more importance of AI in their lives.
So, I remember a conversation with the Coursera founder in 2018, late 2018. and he said that AI is like electricity, it's going to be there in everything that we do,
Yeah,
and we don't maybe look at electricity that way. Like, even if you're using a smartphone, it is powered by
correct,
electricity at the end of the day, right?
correct.
So AI is going to be that kind of ubiquitous,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So how do you look at it at a device perspective? Do you think, at least in the foreseeable future, it is going to be there across all devices, or it's going to take time to trickle down to, maybe, let's say, budget devices and all of that? Is it going to be premium first? And is the power of the device going to be a determining factor here, right? Like, not every device can run AI,
Absolutely.
at least on device will be very tough, right?
Absolutely. So very valid point, right? So I think first of all, is there opportunity for AI to be across devices? Yes, absolutely. And it opportunity exists not just on smartphones, but on ecosystem
Yeah.
devices as well, on
Yes.
IoT devices as well. And in fact, if you look at Motorola, you will see that we have software experiences like Smart Connect, which allow for your phone to connect with ecosystem devices like the television or the PC across operating systems. And I think the AI will also play a big role in enhancing the experiences there, right? So definitely opportunity for AI to be across different types of devices. The second point you asked is what scale or what value of devices. I think that's an important factor because you will see certain top end features which require a lot of processing power, right? So which can only be present in devices which have a certain memory capability, which have a
Yeah.
certain processing power, right? So RAM, storage, and the processor play a lot of role in actually ensuring that the AI experiences are coming to the fore. And specifically for on-device AI experiences, you definitely need a stronger processing power, even for experiences that are cloud based, right? At the end of the day, you will have need to have a mix of on device plus cloud based AI to give the complete experience to the consumer, and
Yeah.
which is where it could be limiting for some experiences to not be
Hmm.
available on all the devices.
Yeah.
However, I think with the way things are progressing, I think you will continue to see democratization of AI over the period of time, and you will see experiences coming down the price point, which is similar to what happens with all technology, right? At the
Yeah,
beginning,
any new technology in that
any
sense,
new
right? You,
technology.
yeah, you, for instance, have bought the foldable price down so much, right?
Exactly.
Made it literally accessible to anybody.
Absolutely. It's the
Yeah,
same reference. Yeah.
yeah, yes. So, so before we wind up, one last question I want to ask you. And I know, like, given how international company, tech companies work, you're not going to open up a lot, but how do you think Moto AI is going to shape up in the near future? And how do you think AI on smartphone itself is going to shape up? Are we going to see, for instance, like, you alluded to it a bit, but I think you can have an operating system which is personalized at a user level, right? Technically with AI, because
Hmm.
it's just and with agentic AI, for
Right.
instance, right? You
Right.
literally have the OS, which is an agent for that specific user's requirements,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, no,
So so
absolutely.
so
I
so,
think it's
so
a
how
it's
are you
a
looking at the future? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. See, we are looking at the future where the AI on the device will become
Hmm.
absolutely integral to the consumer's daily experiences or
Yeah.
daily life, right? So whether it is assisting them with their daily activities, work, play, anything of that sort, or creating or capturing memories, or creating magical experiences, I think the phone will be integral in that way, and which is how we have envisioned the Moto AI as a layer which can
Yeah.
be activated through natural language. So it doesn't become something which is necessarily requiring, say, a text input or an action from your side, and which is ubiquitous. So while it may interact with multiple applications and with different partners, at the end of the day, for you,
Yeah.
that is the end point, right? So
Hmm.
our belief or our philosophy is that it should be so contextual and personal that you truly trust it and believe in it, that it will be able to
Yeah.
give you
Yeah.
the right recommendations. And like I said, should not be passive and waiting for an input, but also be proactive and being with you and being collaborative in terms of ensuring that you can have a conversation with the AI at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
You need not
Yeah.
be going to that application. And finally, being ubiquitous in the sense that then that Moto AI should become your only
Hmm.
partner in terms of
Yeah.
navigating through your smartphone experience. So
Yeah.
even now, if you see, there are there are these natural language inputs that we have in our device, which are very simple. So, for example, you can tell the AI, take a selfie or enable my hotspot, and it does it for you.
Mhm.
So there are
Yeah.
things that you
Yeah.
can just say, like, and it can act on your behalf, and which is
Mhm.
happening basically because we use large action models and large language models that are able to do that. But at the end of the day, that is what the vision would be. That you don't need to, for example, manually go to an application to perform a task. You don't need to possibly give an input for the AI to perform for you. And third, you don't need to think when you are already at a place, and you don't need to remind yourself, but the AI does it for you. So I think being a friend, being a partner, and being an assistant at the same point of time, I think that's how I would like
Yeah.
to define what we want to do with Moto AI. And I hope that's something that is the future of AI on the smartphones.
If I can take it ahead a little bit, no, you don't need to maybe unfold your phone to do a lot of things, right? You will
Yeah,
unfold your phone only if you have to look at the screen. And that
absolutely.
is the kind of future we are looking at. So,
Absolutely.
Shivam, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thank
Fascinating
you.
listening to how AI is going to really improve our lives on the smartphone.
Thank you so much, Nandagopal. It was a pleasure, as always, speaking with you. Thank you so much.
So, you were listening to Shivam Ranjan of Motorola Mobility. We'll be back again next week with another great guest and a lot more insight and knowledge. Till then, we are available everywhere you listen to your pods.